What's up guys, Miss Pess here back with another Star Wars Galaxy of Heroes Beginner's Guide, and this time we're tackling the Galactic War. That's right, the thorn in everybody's side, the Galactic War. So there are a couple of key points that a lot of players really want to know, and that is, what makes my Galactic War harder? Well, what I can tell you is that one of the biggest factors that goes into determining the difficulty level of your Galactic War are your most powerful characters. So right here you can see that I've got General Kenobi over 11,000 power, I've got R2 over 10,000, Kylo's over 10,000, Darth Nihilus is knocking on the door, even Royal Guard, who's still gear 10 and only has one piece of gear at gear 10, has over 9,000. Boba Fett's up there really high, but that's about as high as he's gonna get. And then Jedi Knight Anakin, who is a very beefy attacker. So what I've been able to determine is that health and protection play a very, very big role in determining how much power a character has. A lot of players who have Darth Vader probably have Darth Vader as one of their top 5 most powerful characters simply because he has a huge amount of health and protection. Another popular theory is that your Galactic War will get harder as you increase the power of your Squad Arena and win battles with a higher Squad Arena power level. This is actually it's untrue. I can tell you that from experience because when I went from 80 to 85, I deliberately left my Squad Arena characters at level 80 and didn't gear them up because they were about as high a gear as they could at level 80 for the sole purpose of keeping my Galactic War easy. Now, as I improved the power and gear levels of other characters that I was using in Galactic War and not in Squad Arenas, and I had a more powerful top 10 characters, top 20 characters, whatever it may be, my Galactic War did indeed get harder. It got more difficult. So I believe that it is a number of factors. The only factors that I can say with a certain degree of confidence is that it is based mostly or in large part by the highest power characters that you have on your roster. So now let's dive into the strategy. What can I do as a player to win my Galactic War every day? Beat that 12th battle, the one, the culmination of all my efforts in Galactic War. How do I get that 12th battle cleared every day? A lot of these tips and tricks are going to be geared towards all players of all experience levels because Galactic War is pretty universal. The same strategies that a veteran can use can be employed by lower level players who are brand new to the game, who are just getting into their Galactic War. With that in mind, those of you veterans watching know that I am going to be addressing some very, very basic information here because this video is part of my beginner's guide and is geared towards brand new players. So if I cover some information that seems very basic or elementary, it's because the video is geared towards newer players who haven't cleared their Galactic War, maybe just hit 40, or also those players who are in their 50s, 60s, 70s and are just having a little bit trouble with their Galactic War. Okay, so that being said, Galactic War is a sort of gauntlet, so to speak. It basically is a test of a player's roster and skill and strategy. Health, protection, and cooldowns all carry over to the next battle. What may be lesser known to some players is that your turn meter is also carried over between battles, which means that if a character on your squad finishes a battle with full turn meter, they will have full turn meter at the very beginning of the next battle. Another lesser-known aspect of Galactic War is the reward and battle structure. You'll notice that you have white, gold, and purple crates. The purple crates always have crystals in them. You'll get a total of 25 crystals for defeating all 12 battles in Galactic War. Now, also, those battles are going to be the most difficult battles. Your 3rd, 6th, 9th, and 12th battles in the game, rather in your Galactic War, are going to be the most difficult. So, one of the best strategies in Galactic War is to use this turn meter carryover to your advantage. Staging your character's turn meter is very, very vital to being able to beat some of those harder, more difficult stages at the end of your Galactic War. If you're lucky, you don't need to. You may have wicked awesome speed mods, those of you veterans, or you might not even have any mods at all, and staging turn meter is going to be vital to actually winning those Galactic War battles. One easy way to use turn meter to your advantage in Galactic War is to be able to try and store it up for use later on in your Galactic Wars. What I try to do is I try to have about 3, maybe 4 core squads or variations of those squads stored up and saved in my squad builder so that I can rotate through those squads or characters if I choose to, maybe tinker with the squad builds just a little bit so that I can store up turn meter. By that I mean try and end the battle with the majority of your characters above half turn meter so that they will for sure go first against a very, very fast opponent should you come across somebody with crazy mods. So that later on in my Galactic War, if I need to say I need to switch over to my Rebels from my Sith, my Rebels will already have turn meter. It's a very, very easy way to prep yourself for success later on in your Galactic War. Now, if you're not using the squad management system, you need to be. It is one of the best features that was added with the Quality of Life update a few months ago, and it makes Galactic War so easy because you no longer have to spend, forever tinkering through your character screen trying to find all of the characters that you want to put in your particular Galactic War squad. You can just use your select squad button and pick the squad that you want to go with, maybe change out 1 or 2 characters on that squad, and then go into battle. Now, you won't be able to stack turn meter on 3 or 4 different squads if you don't have 3 or 4 different squads to stack turn meter on, which brings me to another very important factor for being able to successfully clear your Galactic War every day, and that is depth of roster. You need to have a well-rounded roster in order to make sure that you can successfully make it from the first to the last battle in Galactic War and actually get that W at the end. Now, what do I mean by well-rounded? Well, one of the most important things to have is a good solid tank. You need to be able to throw in a tank or 2 on various nodes where you have an opposing team that is heavy burst damage. You need to have somebody who can soak up that damage. You also need to have a numerous, well, maybe not numerous, but at least a few characters who are capable of cleansing debuffs on your squad and also buffs off of the enemy squad. There are a number of characters who are free to play and capable of accomplishing this task, and among those are Qui-Gon Jinn, Admiral Akbar, Chirrut Imwe, who is now farmable from fleet shipments. You also have Baze Malbus if you are a higher level character, or rather a higher level player capable of farming Baze. He's available. B2 Super Battle Droid is a very good target from Cantina Battles who is capable of not just cleansing buffs off of the enemy squad, but also inflicting buff immunity, which is a very, very useful negative status effect when you're fighting through Galactic War. In addition to those support and tank characters, you obviously need to have some strong attackers, and that's where characters like Lando Calrissian, Wedge, Biggs, TIE Fighter Pilot, Darth Maul, you have a number of options there when you're talking about attackers. I mean, this game is full of attackers, and there are a lot of attackers who also double as very good utility, which is where TIE Fighter Pilot comes in. In addition to his very, very good single target basic attack DPS, he has a special attack that can inflict buff immunity on all characters on the enemy squad, along with ability block on his primary target. Now, granted, that is at Omega level, so that's a higher level, so he may not benefit you lower level characters, but that's where Wedge, Biggs, Lando, all kinds of other attackers that are available to lower levels. So I have a couple of older Galactic War guides that I will link in the description below, which may be a little bit more tailored to your earlier players. You can also watch my character farming guides and my other beginners guides to get better advice on what characters are useful at your at your player level. A very important aspect of having depth of roster is making sure that you're balancing out your resources. This game is very resource intensive and very, very, very rewarding to players who are capable of budgeting, rationing, and maintaining their resources in a very smart manner. You are not going to get very far in this game if you're just throwing gear around all willy-nilly. You have to be very strategic in who you gear and how you gear them. Considering that your Galactic War difficulty is weighed heavily against the power of your characters, you want to make sure that you're kind of spreading the love, so to speak, amongst all of your characters that you intend on using in Galactic War. You want to make sure that you're not neglecting your arena squad. However, I have seen arena squads that are 5 to 10 levels lower than inadequately geared other higher level squads come out victorious. A lot of squad arena hinges a lot on synergy. I've seen a lot of players who threw together just their strongest 5 characters get absolutely decimated by significantly lower powered characters, or rather squads, for the simple fact that they lacked any kind of significant synergy. So it's important to make sure that you're gearing up the characters that you need for Galactic War without neglecting your arena squad. Hopefully you're going to be using some of your arena squad characters in your Galactic War, but you can also succeed well in Galactic War with using characters that you don't even have in your arena squad. So you must be thinking, okay, so what do I do with all the other characters on my roster? Don't worry, they are not going to go to waste. You can use what I call suicide squads against particularly rough battles in order to burn the cooldowns of the enemy squad. Just the same as your cooldowns and your health and everything carries over to the next battle, if your squad is defeated in battle, all of the cooldowns, or rather the cooldown timers of all of the enemy's characters, are maintained with the next squad that goes in to fight the remaining characters on the enemy's squad. So what this means is that if you come across a particularly brutal squad, for example, this squad right here, Emperor Palpatine with Darth Vader and Darth Sidious, say you're just having a brutal time getting past this squad because, say, Emperor Palpatine constantly gets out and he uses his AoE stun and every single one of your characters gets stunned, and then Vader comes up right behind him with the Force Crush, and then because of the turn meter gain, turns right around and Culling Blades one of your best characters on your squad, and you just can't find a way around it. What you can do is throw in a 5-man suicide squad, is what I like to call them. Basically 5 level 20, 30, whatever, severely under-geared characters for the sole purpose of burning those cooldowns. So, ideally what would happen is you would have Darth Sidious come out, do his AoE, followed up with Emperor Palpatine's AoE and Darth Vader's Force Crush. Well, hopefully by the end of those 3 attacks, your entire squad is gone. And what that does is it calls the end of the battle, so that's defeated, but all 3 of those characters' AoEs are now on cooldown for your A squad, B squad, whatever you may be sending in next to go in without any threat of Emperor Palpatine's AoE stun, Darth Sidious's AoE, or Darth Vader's Force Crush. Basically, you don't have to worry about any of those because they burned all those cooldowns on your level 20, gear level 2, Nute Gunray. So you don't have to worry about any of those really, really, really painful AoEs, and it kind of just makes your life easier. So that is a simple strategy that I have used for a long, long time to make sure that I am burning some of those really, really brutal cooldowns that I run into on those hard-to-beat squads. My next tip is don't be afraid to retreat. If you feel like, maybe I could probably retreat and might get out of this battle with all 5 characters at max health, maybe all but 1 character with max protection, and I know that this 1 character is only at half health, but I'll go ahead and finish it out. Don't worry about it. I mean, especially if you were in the first 6 to 10 battles, I would just retreat, man. Just retreat, because one of the nice things is if you send in the exact same squad and you do the exact same turns against the same, or rather the exact same attacks against the same characters, it follows a sequence. You will not quote-unquote break the code until you attack a different target with a different attack, or the same target with a different attack, or change up the sequence a little bit. So I hate to say that they're scripted, because they're not really scripted, but if you change up a character, change up an ability that you use, you will change potentially the outcome of each battle in Galactic War. So don't be afraid to back out. Don't be afraid to maybe swap out one character that you think, oh, well, this squad is the best squad for beating this enemy. I can't beat him without Emperor Palpatine. Trust me, you probably will. I've noticed that Emperor Palpatine, especially, I mean, even at Gear 11, is pretty squishy, and he dies fairly easily. So if you happen to get into a battle and he dies like 3 turns in, feel free to, retreat, try a different setup. You may not even have to take Emperor Palpatine out of the squad, but simply by changing out one of the other characters, you may change the entire outcome of the battle. Emperor Palpatine may not even be the target of any attacks if you just change out, say, one character for another, leaving Emperor Palpatine in. So don't be afraid to retreat, change up your squad, maybe leave the same squad in, and just change up the sequence of attacks. Now, we've talked about my strategies for winning Galactic War. Now, who are my characters that I recommend the most for making sure that you can win every Galactic War? Well, I have a number of characters that I've always had in my arsenal for Galactic War who have served me extremely well. And those include Barriss Offee. She is a fantastic leader, probably one of the best Galactic War leaders in the game because of her heal. Her heal on her leadership is awesome because your characters will stay healed, hopefully, throughout more battles and actually win. Plus, her heal is one of the only heals, aside from Chirrut Îmwe's, that actually circumvents healing immunity because it is an equalizing effect. Captain Phasma is also another fantastic Galactic War leader that I used for probably several months in my Galactic War as my Galactic War leader. And then more recently, Darth Vader. Darth Vader with a Zeta is an incredible Galactic War leader. He's still extremely viable and extremely useful in Galactic War as a leader because of his turn meter reduction. Also, Darth Maul, if you Zeta Darth Maul, he is a very handy leader because, let's face it, Sith just get faster underneath the Darth Maul Zeta. And if you're looking for some other evasion metas that don't require a Zeta, you can always do Old Ben or Count Dooku. Those are also 2 very good leaders to go to in Galactic War. Some of my favorite other characters for Galactic War are stunning characters. I like to have a good stun squad in my back pocket in case I come across a squad or enemy that is just a pain in the butt, because you may not be able to beat them with burst damage, but controlling the enemy squad with stuns may actually put you out on top. Some great characters that I've used in my own personal stun squads include Royal Guard, Count Dooku, Old Daka, Asajj Ventress, Emperor Palpatine, and actually Cassian Andor, believe it or not, because his special ability can copy negative status effects, which means if any other enemy is stunned, he can copy that stun onto his target, which is extremely useful. And while we're on the topic of Cassian Andor, he is a very useful character in Galactic War because his basic inflicts buff immunity, which will prevent any tanks from gaining taunt. Realistically, in Galactic War, your goal is to prevent the enemy tanks from taunting so that you can clear out the damage-dealing members of the enemy squad. So let's recap. Stacking turn meter on your squads. If you can beat Galactic War with one squad start to finish, kudos. I've been able to do it before in the past, but as my Galactic War has gotten harder, it's even more difficult to do it with just one squad. You may be able to, but not everybody can. Don't be afraid to stack turn meter. Next, well-rounded roster. Make sure that you've got a good variety of characters to support yourself all the way through from start to finish. Next, don't be afraid to retreat. And then lastly, Suicide Squad. Don't be afraid to throw in a few lowly peon characters to burn some cooldowns so that you can go in with your A squad and melt some faces. That about does it for my Galactic War Guide video. I know it was long, but there's a lot to cover. If you missed my last Beginner's Guide video, you can click the annotation on screen to be taken to it. As always, guys, thanks for watching. Like, favorite, subscribe, check me out on Facebook, follow me on Twitter, join my Discord server to continue the conversation, and I will catch you later.